Hi y'all. Happy Wednesday. Um, I want to talk a little bit about anthropics. This is something that I discovered in 2007, maybe 2008, by reading Nick Bostrom on um, having to do with observer selection effects of reality. Basically, the kinds of things we see are skewed because of the fact that we're observers, that the universe has to be a certain way to allow observers like us to exist. This always troubled me because if that's true, things like quantum immortality are true. But the thing is, that also means that life can get really painful. Until I read, took another way of looking at it. It's not so much the observers themselves as a single unit, but what's really important, the unit that you should focus on, is observer moments. Because if you go by observers, then yeah, most observers are going to be eventually in infirmity and old age, and time will catch up to them, and most of their moments will be pretty horrific. But if you go by observer moments instead of observers, basically the collection of moments that an observer can observe, more observer moments are going to be in relative comfort and living okay than extreme moments where you're in great pain and your body is failing. Because even though those moments exist, they may in some ways are more understandable. There might The thing is, they don't last very long. If you go by duration, there are more observer moments where you're in relative comfort than there are moments where you're in extremity. Because, like, if you're messed up enough to be in extreme pain, then you're not going. There are not going to be very many observer moments connected to that. There's going to be a lot more observer moments where you are relatively comfortable. And this is the one bit of comfort I took, because, like, if we live in an infinite universe and quantum immortality is real, then yeah, it's pretty ugly that most of the observer moments are going to be pretty horrific. But if you go by what is plausible, you're gonna more likely survive from a relatively healthy state than a relatively unhealthy state. So there's going to be more moments that come from relative comfort rather than pain. So, at least according to the statistics, not only does an infinite universe kind of guarantee that you will exist, but that most of your moments will be tolerable. At least that's what I thought. Gave me a lot of comfort, because, like, I thought, okay, maybe there's a way out of mortality with quantum immortality. I was thinking that in the early 90s, but it really took me until reading that book on and coming to grips with the idea of an observer moment instead of just an observer, and what kinds of moments are more likely than others, that kind of solved that problem. And I've been kind of very optimistic ever since. And of course, I could be wrong about all of this. Like, we could live in a finite universe. Many world theory may not be true, but I don't know. I've seen some stuff. I think I'm gonna. I don't know. And what's the saying? There's, like, I think, like, Robert Browning or one of the English poets said, every human being knows that humans are immortal, but makes an exception for themselves. Maybe I'm just doing that. I don't know. But I definitely thought the Nick Bostrom book, where he basically said observer moments were more tenable than, say, just straight up number of observers. So anyway, that's kind of interesting. It's my thought for the day. Peace out. Bye bye.